All right, everybody, welcome back. Mighty Manotor here with my bro DK in the corner.
Hola.
And we're talking our E3 predictions. We did our Sony press conference video, Microsoft press conference video, Nintendo, whatever their stupid little stream meeting predictions video, and now we're going to be talking the EA press conference, the Ubisoft press conference, and then any other third-party multi-platform games we expect to see. So, best place to start, EA.
Yeah.
What do we know for sure that's going to be there?
For sure. Well, this it's hard to say for sure. But last year at E3, EA revealed Star Wars Battlefront 3. So if EA doesn't reveal more about Star Wars Battlefront 3,
we will burn this place to the ground.
I just give up.
Oh man, it's so hard being so invested in this industry for so long because you get these emotional attachments to franchises.
Big time.
I mean, the Genesis was my first console, and I've played plenty of, NES games, Super NES games, GameCube games, that kind of thing. But those really old games, I don't have as much of an emotional attachment to.
Yeah.
But something on PS1, PS2 era, when the meat of my gaming experience, Star Wars Battlefront was my favorite game of all time when that game came out. Oh my god!
Yeah. I went back and played it just the other weekend with one of my friends. I played the second one. Still holds up. Totally.
Cool.
Still holds up.
I remember seeing when Call of Duty 4 came out, maybe a year or so after, these people modded Call of Duty 4
Oh my
Modern
god!
Warfare
I always
to
wanted
be
to play
Star Wars, and I
Oh.
was my head exploded with how awesome it looked. First-person shooter like that with decent graphics, multiplayer, and all this grenades, and the airstrike was Y-class bombers and TIE bombers and these.
Man.
Because I mean Kyle too, but me particularly, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. You will be hard pressed to find larger Star Wars nerds than me, at least speaking for myself. So the fact that we know Battlefront 3 is happening makes me so giddy. I cannot wait. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better developer than DICE to make that game.
Me neither.
Because
I don't want it going to Sledgehammer. I don't want to go into any of those.
Yeah. Because DICE
Treyarch.
They get how to craft a great first-person shooter, but they're going to approach it with the respect.
Right.
To the Star Wars universe that it deserves. A studio like a Call of Duty studio like Treyarch or something, I don't know that I would see that as much. So I'm super excited to see more of it, and God, I hope they have something. Even if it's a fake gameplay, if it's not real gameplay, it's still a trailer, CG, whatever. Show me.
I want to see the name. That's all I need to see.
But we saw that last time.
I'm just saying, if I don't see at least the name again,
lives
will be taken.
I want to see a first-person shot of a dude with an Imperial rifle mowing down stormtroopers. That's what I want to see. Oh my god, that is my most anticipated game right now. It's Battlefront 3. So what else? E3, I think a logical or not E3, but for EA, logical game for us to see that has already been announced. We've already gotten screenshots, gameplay videos. Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is a pretty safe bet that there will be something there about it. I imagine, I foresee kind of some extended gameplay demo of a new
I hope
area.
So.
Yeah, of a new area we haven't seen, maybe some more combat, because we didn't see as much of that in the original 10, 15-minute gameplay demo. Maybe something with it, because I know dragons are going to play a big part, so maybe something with the dragon, dealing with some more characters, maybe a reveal of a character that, or it was in the past games that we didn't know was in this one yet. I'm really looking forward to that game. It's totally shaping up to be something awesome.
I think they learned their lessons from Dragon Age 2.
Well, and they learned it in both ways, that Dragon Age 1 was a great game, but it alienated a lot of Western RPG fans because it was more like a JRPG. It was more, You had to think before you made your moves, and it was real time, but there was a lot of strategy to it, and that turned off a lot of people. They went in way the wrong direction with Dragon Age 2 and made it too combat focused.
Right.
And that turned off the fans of the first game. I think this one seems to me to be the best of both worlds, where it's combo focused in active combat, but there's a lot, being able to tell your other guys what to do, and just the scope of the world feels more like the first game than the second one.
Yeah, the second one was just recycled area after recycled area. It was
so
miserable.
Disappointing. Going back to the same place over and over again was so disappointing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Inquisition seems to be shaping up to be something pretty damn special.
I agree.
That's a BioWare game. We know that they're working on a Mass Effect game. So what are your opinions on that? Do you think we see anything about the next Mass Effect?
I don't think they need to give us more Mass Effect necessarily, because they've got Star Wars, they've got Dragon Age. I don't think they need to give us more Mass Effect, but I think they will. I think they'll give us something.
And on the others, I would love to see Mass Effect just because I'm a huge Mass Effect, a big fan of the franchise.
Sure.
I don't think we're going to see anything from it. I think it's too early. I think they're still too early in the process to have anything to show. But another possibility too, after Disney giving exclusive Star Wars rights to EA, we know DICE is working on a Star Wars game. We know Visceral's working on a Star Wars game. What's saying BioWare's not working on a Star Wars game?
Right.
They've already had tremendous success with Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2.
Yes.
They've had moderate success with the Old Republic, their online MMO, that since it's gone free-to-play is now making money for them. It's pretty well received. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see, not necessarily this year, but that they are working on a Star Wars RPG of some kind.
Yeah,
whether it's KOTOR 3 or
if
what.
they announce a KOTOR 3, the internet will explode into pieces.
Yeah. And really in a way that only Half-Life 3 could be.
Right. Yes, only Half-Life 3 could be KOTOR 3.
So, I don't know that we will see anything about that. I think that them showing off Inquisition, that's what they want to focus on. They don't want to spread their attention too wide. But I think that they absolutely are working on a Star Wars game that if they did decide to show, people would shit their pants.
Big time. I would.
Other big EA franchise that we saw revealed last year, Mirror's Edge.
Yes.
I think we're going to see more about that.
Yeah, I really do. I really think we'll see more
bet.
Mirror's Edge. That's a pretty safe bet.
Some kind of gameplay demo for sure.
Yeah.
Because we got that teaser that showed, that first-person perspective of, wall running and combat and stuff like that, but it wasn't in-game footage.
Right, it was all CG render.
So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see something about that, with whatever, if there is any kind of HUD, like an actual in-game gameplay demo, which would be really exciting. I'm really excited to get back to that. It was a cool world they created. They didn't really dive deeply into it.
Yeah, so I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, definitely. And Faith isn't that well crafted of a character. She was kind of just a blank slate kind of character, which for the purposes of what that game is okay. Not every protagonist needs to be this deep, well-rounded character.
Right.
So I think the focus needs to be on that parkour. And really the only thing that I want them to put another focus on is the combat part. The melee combat felt stiff. And especially like
the gunplay was bad.
Once you pick up a gun, was straight up bad. I mean, the first time I played through, I wanted to get the trophy for beating the whole thing with never firing a weapon, so I did it that way. But then I went back and was using weapons and was like, oh god, like as hard as it was to make it through that game without guns, using the guns didn't really make it any easier. So I hope they put some new focus on that aspect of it. Anything else? That's kind of all the big EA games that I had.
Yeah, no, that's all I had.
They'll have stuff about their sports games. Whatever the UFC license now.
Blah, 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 blah.
FIFA, all that kind of stuff. But you're not going to hear anything about that from us because we don't care. Those are huge franchises, but no interest over here. So,
did you have FIFA?
Yeah, go somewhere else for news on those games.
Did you have FIFA 2015?
So the next big publisher that has their own press conference is Ubisoft.
Yeah,
who traditionally have a lot of their games at Microsoft or Sony's press conferences, but they always have enough to warrant their own. So games that have already been announced, Assassin's Creed Unity has been announced. Their next Assassin's Creed game built from the ground up for new consoles.
Next gen, yeah.
We're going to see that. We're going to see some kind of gameplay. I can't say that I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me neither. Black Flag I was only interested in because of pirates.
Yeah.
Only reason I was interested in it was because I wanted to go swashbuckle like a motherfucker.
And even that got boring.
Yeah.
And once you were on land doing the climbing and like the eavesdropping missions, like it's straight up bad. It is straight up bad. And those games sell like crazy and people love them for whatever reason. I loved Assassin's Creed 1, liked Assassin's Creed 2, played half of Brotherhood and got bored, skipped Revelations entirely, skipped Battlefield 3, skipped Assassin's Creed 3 until like much later where I got it for cheap, started it up, played an hour and was like, nope, this is the same thing, don't care. Saw Assassin's Creed 4, said, hey, cool, pirates, bought it, really enjoyed it for 3/4 of the game, and then was like, I couldn't care less. So now this new one, being in the French Revolution, losing out on that cool perspective of the pirates, and now you're back to just being like an assassin.
Yeah.
Could not care less.
Nope.
So, I don't know. Unless they come out and show something where they're totally redesigning the gameplay mechanics, no way am I going to be picking that up.
Yeah. And I don't see that happening at all. It's going to be it's going to be another Assassin's Creed game. That's all it's going to be.
Yeah. Yep. And that just goes back to what we've been talking about this whole time about franchise fatigue.
Yep.
At a certain point, you gotta give it a break. But I mean, these big publishers don't do that. They're cash cows, man. Because it doesn't matter how good this Assassin's Creed game is, it's going to sell millions of units.
Yeah,
just
they'll make their money back.
So what's the incentive for them to take a year off? There isn't any, because they're a business. They exist to make money, not to make good games. So it sucks, but that's the reality of it. The other thing about they've said because Assassin's Creed Unity is only on next-gen consoles, they are making a separate Assassin's Creed game for the older consoles. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that revealed in some way, just what it is. I've seen the subtitle Assassin's Creed Comet being thrown around. I don't know what the meaning of that is, but I've just seen online as a rumored subtitle.
Assassin's Creed in space.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Assassin's Creed Unity already seems kind of like a weird kind of name, but I won't be surprised to see some kind of reveal about that, just to tide over the people that haven't upgraded systems yet. Another big game from really two big games from last year: The Crew and The Division. The Crew we talked about briefly. It's just another racing game. Like, it's a big open world, neat, but it's just a racing game. Like, I don't understand the appeal of having 6 different racing games on the market.
No.
I just don't.
We don't need them.
Yeah. So
take them away. Go away.
I think that one had been delayed at some point. So
it was.
Maybe they show something about that just to show, like, hey, it's still coming out or whatever. But
yeah. It'll probably be more details on how the drop-in, drop-out multiplayer works.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
The Division, though, looks awesome.
Oh, my God. And it was fracking delayed, man.
Well, are you surprised?
No.
I never for one second thought that game was coming out this year. So, if it gives them more time to polish it, I'm fine with that. But it looks cool. I mean, kind of MMO-ish, kind of third-person shooter, play with your friends, kind of co-op thing. It just looks really solid, really cool. It's sort of a post-apocalyptic setting.
Post-pandemic.
Yeah, there you go. Pandemic. It's not really apocalyptic.
Right.
It's a little bit different. But, yeah, it looks neat. They've already shown a lot of gameplay for that, though. I won't be surprised to see it there, but I also don't know what else there is to show about it, honestly.
Yeah, maybe just some more, like, fine-tuned UI stuff.
Yeah,
probably.
Maybe.
Some more finalized UI, maybe another look at some more of the technology, maybe a further in-depth analysis of how tablet implementation is going to work. I know they were big on that, which
who cares?
I couldn't give two craps about because I don't own a tablet because I'm not. I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to insult anybody, but I don't know. I will watch whatever they give me on it. And
Sure,
I'll be
yeah,
happy.
I'm excited to see more of it. Definitely, I just don't know what they have new to show.
Right.
But yeah, another game that was recently announced, Far Cry 4. It's coming out this year, so they say. That game I don't see getting pushed back. That's typically a holiday release game, so I won't be surprised if that does end up coming out in October, November area. We've only really seen that screen, like the cover art or whatever.
It takes place in the Himalayas, so that would be an interesting new level of verticality in the world. Mm-hmm. So maybe there'll finally be a use, like an actual use for the hang glider, as opposed to just like going off of like a 40-foot cliff. Maybe now you'll be able to go off of like a mile drop and just go. That'd be awesome. Yeah. It'd be super cool. I got really burnt out of Far Cry 2 and Far Cry 3 because, I mean, there was no good way for you to like clear areas out of enemies, and you have to travel so much. It's such a travel-heavy game. You're running into these groups of enemies that you've faced at these spots before again and again and again and again, and that kind of stuff gets annoying after a while, and so I don't know if that's something they'll address with the new one, but that was my main beef with the older games, the previous titles, was just having to face those checkpoints of enemies over and over and over again. It made me not want to play because it made going anywhere just a chore.
A pain. Yeah. I mean, I never even got into Far Cry 3. I definitely want to at some point. It's on my list. Whether or not that actually ever happens, who knows? But
I mean, I never played Blood Dragon. That's something I've been meaning to do.
Right. By all accounts, it was absolutely a solid game. Made a lot of top 10 lists when it came out. So they're a solid studio. I'm sure Far Cry 4 will be a great game. But especially the fact that they announced it like 2 weeks ago won't surprise me if we see something about it at the show.
Right.
Because they got the announcement out of the way. Now they can show actual gameplay from it. Hopefully it's not what they did with Far Cry 4 last year where they showed like that co-op multiplayer and people were like, who cares? What is this? Why would you show this?
Yeah.
It was kind of a disaster, honestly. So hopefully they avoid that and just show us something cool about the story or crazy guns we're going to use.
Yeah, or some new traversal techniques and stuff like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you have anything else about Ubisoft?
Nope.
Okay. Because I know, I mean, one of the other big franchises, Rayman. I don't really see anything about Rayman happening. They just had a game in the past year, I think, that came out.
Yeah, well, that was pushed back for a year.
That's
pushed
true.
back
That's
an entire year.
That's
so,
right. Yeah.
Let's let that one rest a little bit, Ubisoft.
Yeah. So
the wounds are still a little sore.
From here, we're just going to kind of move on to just other games that we either think we might want to see or just that we hope we'll get to see. I guess Activision is another big publisher that makes sense to kind of move on to. Destiny is their biggest game coming out.
Well, it's not. No. It's not Activision's game. They're just a financial backer. It's Bungie's game, damn it.
Activision is publishing it.
I don't want that to happen, though.
Why?
Because
Why? Who cares?
I don't want them to exercise any creative control over it whatsoever.
Yeah, but people had the same perspective about BioWare when EA bought them, and they've still put out tons of great games. Not all of them have been great, but like
EA is not Activision.
A lot of people dislike EA more than Activision.
Just because of Mass Effect 3.
I don't think so. I think it's a more...
That's where it stemmed from.
But do you just dislike Activision because of Call of Duty?
No, I dislike Activision because they take way too much creative control over their developers, and they pull like a ton of their creative freedom away from them. Like I've heard like a myriad of different stories of developers wanting to do something different with their franchises or wanting to take a cool idea and implement it, and then Activision says, no, you're going to do this because it's the formula and it sells. You're going to do that. And I fucking hate that.
Okay.
I fucking hate it. I know it's a business, but I hate it.
I get
so
that
much.
complaint, and I'm not going to disagree with that. But to that I will say, Bungie is one of the biggest devs in the industry. If they wanted to put out their game, any publisher would put it out. They chose Activision for a reason, and I think that reason is because Activision is the biggest publisher. And they have games like Call of Duty that make tons of money every year. They know how to market stuff. They know how to get it out there. And Bungie wants that. I don't see Bungie signing a contract to be published by Activision if Activision was going to come in and exercise creative control. That's what I think.
Okay.
And everything I've seen from Destiny makes it look awesome. Nothing about it makes me worried because Activision is publishing it.
Well, because it all looked awesome before Activision was the publisher. So now I'm just holding my breath and waiting to see if it becomes something else or if it's just going to stay with its current identity.
Yeah,
I'm waiting to see if it becomes something else because of Activision, and if that happens,
Yeah, I personally, I'm not worried about that at all. I think that Bungie is a talented enough developer with enough money in the bank that they could do it if they wanted to. There was something to gain for them to partner with Activision, and I don't think they would have done it if they were afraid Activision was going to kind of try to take over. That's just how I think about it. But that being said, I think the Destiny looks great.
Yeah.
The fact that it's been delayed a couple times does have me worried a little bit in terms of the scope of it, because it was very ambitious when it was announced. How big the world was and how fleshed out it was going to be seemed unrealistic, and based upon it being pushed back and that kind of stuff kind of shows that it was a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
And they've had to tone it down a little bit. But I still think it's going to be a really solid game. It looks like a blast to play with friends.
Yeah.
And the kind of social features they have seem really cool and actually useful.
Right.
And not like in The Division where it's like, oh, hop on your iPhone app and play with your friends. Like, fuck that. No. But being able to, like, talk to your friends on it and set up times to meet up and play and find other people like that stuff, that's actually useful. That's something that I would actually use it for. So I'm excited to see more about that. They've already had that gameplay trailer from like Devil's Dungeon or Devil's Cave or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So a specific mission. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another mission that's kind of in a different direction from that to show more variety.
Right. Yeah. More versatile.
Or like a big boss battle that they've showed too, where it's kind of those like big
where a bunch of people come together
teams
at once. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that too. Whatever they show, it's going to make me even more excited, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot from that game could make me not excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else Activision specific?
Well, Harmonix is doing that, the Fantasia thing, but man,
Right.
I wish they were doing Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
As hard as it is to find, Harmonix was Guitar Hero, yeah. As hard as it is to find, instruments and crap nowadays that, like, still work and aren't, like, $1 million, I really want to see them release, like, another band-type game so I can buy the set of instruments again, because mine don't work anymore. I mean, my guitar works, but I don't have a working drum set or whatever anymore. So I'd like another set of those. I mean, I don't really care what the game is. Like, I'll play it, whatever. The songs don't really matter that much. They're all fun to play. I just want to see another one of those solely for the reason, solely for the purpose of being able to acquire a new set of instruments.
Spend hundreds of dollars again.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so what we'll do here, we'll just run down, because I have a list of like 20 to 30 games that could potentially be at the show, and I'm sure you have a couple too. So let's run through kind of some games we think we might see, talk about them briefly, just because I don't want this video to go on like hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
So, new Batman game, Batman Arkham Knight, from Rocksteady, that made Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. This is their ending to their Batman trilogy, not including the whatever Origins game, made exclusively for new consoles. Coming out in October, I think it is. I think that's a pretty surefire one to see.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen any gameplay from it.
Nope.
It was just that kind of teaser trailer, that CG story trailer that they always do, that looks freaking awesome, but the game's not going to look anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, I won't be surprised to see something about that. I can't honestly say I'm terribly excited about it. I played Arkham City for a bit, and just it felt too much the same, honestly, for me about Arkham Asylum. Even though it was in a bigger world and kind of new stuff to do, the core mechanics were like the exact same thing. I didn't play Origins at all for the same reason. I'm just not super interested in that anymore. And this, with the new one, yeah, it's that same better story crafting developer, but really the only new thing that they have is you can drive the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to spend $60 more for that. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I played maybe 4 or 5 hours of Arkham Asylum, and I never played any more of any of those games because I'm just not into the beat 'em up type dealio.
Yeah.
I'm not. The combat system's boring to me. It's just hit, counter, hit, counter, counter, hit, counter, counter. That's all it is. And then I don't know, the tools and stuff are cool, I guess. I just wasn't super drawn into the world for whatever reason. I like Batman, but I don't know if I necessarily like playing as Batman.
Yeah. From there, one game we saw last year revealed at Sony's press conferences, No Man's Sky. Do you remember this?
Yeah. The
really,
procedurally
generated open world.
Ship. Yeah.
It looked super ambitious. Looks really, really awesome.
Yes, we haven't heard much about that.
They've been giving updates like on their website, I think, or maybe on Steam or something. I don't really recall exactly what, but they've been giving some kind of updates of where they are, the new things they've been adding. I don't think we're going to see anything more from them this year because I imagine the game's still at least a year off, probably 2.
I'm sure.
I don't know that they have anything else to show. As cool as the idea looked in the trailer, graphically and gameplay-wise, it looked pretty rough pretty early on, and it was. I mean, it was like pre-alpha or whatever.
Yeah, they don't even have their team fully assembled, it looks like.
Yeah, so I think that it's too far off. They're still too early on to show us anything significant, which they would need to. They've already done the little teaser reveal. They can't give us another one of those. They need to have a larger chunk of stuff to show. I don't really think that they do yet.
No.
One other game that I don't know that we'll see, Fortnite. From Epic Games.
Oh, we will see Fortnite.
You think? Because it's a PC only, and PC typically doesn't really have any presence at E3.
No, it's not PC only.
Yes, at least at launch.
Okay, yeah, at launch, potentially.
I'm looking now too, because I thought I saw in the Game Informer that it was only PC.
Yeah, but I know, it might be PC only at launch, but I know they have intent to port it soon.
Yeah, I'm checking on their website. About Fortnite.
Will this be on console or is this game PC only? Right now we're developing for PC, but we're open to other platforms in the future. Well, because I watched a couple videos on it. I know they have thoughts of controller implementation. They've been experimenting with it.
Okay, so for now it is a PC exclusive.
Yeah.
But there you go. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see it end up on console. So maybe that's something they announce at E3.
Yeah.
Because that game looks pretty good, and it's by a typically console-developed studio. You guys behind Gears of War, so I won't be surprised to see that at a Microsoft conference where they say, "Hey, it's also coming to Xbox One and PS4."
Please, PS4.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see that. But if they are sticking to PC, I don't think we will, just because PC-only games usually don't have a ton of presence at E3, at least in terms of the press conferences.
But with Epic being, traditionally a console developer, and Fortnite's been getting a lot of attention just in the game space, period. I don't know if it's completely out of the question. I think we might see something.
Yeah. From there, next one I have the Borderlands pre-sequel. Which is coming to Xbox 360, PC, and PS3. It is not a new console game.
Right, which is weird.
It is weird, but it's not made by, not only made by Gearbox. It's also by 2K Australia, I think.
I think so.
2K Australia.
Sounds right.
They helped out with like Bioshock Infinite, a lot of games like that. It's more Borderlands, 4 different characters. It's going to kind of be on the same kind of scope as Borderlands 2. I think it looks great. I mean, more Borderlands is more Borderlands. I love that universe. I love those games, so I'm excited for it. Gearbox has said that they're working on another Borderlands game, a Borderlands 3, if you will, for new-gen consoles. But that, I would imagine, is still a ways off, because they're helping 2K Australia with the pre-sequel. I don't know that we'll see anything necessarily from them, because they've already had some gameplay demos and stuff like that, but it's supposed to be coming in the fall. So this would be a great place for them to kind of have an update on it.
Yeah,
I don't know where they put it. If they put it at a Sony or Microsoft press conference, I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, I'm certainly excited about that one. I'd like to see more about it, more about the characters.
Sure.
Let's see, we covered Destiny, Evil Within.
Oh my god. That game looks so promising, and then they released the gameplay video, and it looks like shit.
Yeah. I can't
looks
say
like
that
shit.
I didn't have any interest in it, because I'm not really into horror games, period, but I know, I mean, like you, a lot of horror fans, because it's by the guy that did, like, the original Resident Evils, correct?
Yeah.
And, like, his new IP kind of game, that, you know, it has a lot of promise, and by all accounts, the gameplay demos that they showed at these other conferences, a lot of it, I mean, it's out of context, but just they said that just gameplay wise, it wasn't anything special, and the story
wasn't scary.
Like, it seemed bad,
Yeah,
just straight up bad.
Like
so,
the voice VO was bad, and the controls, the animations were clunky, and yeah, I think it was a pre-beta build. It might have been late alpha, but just animations were bad. VO was bad. The UI really needs some tweaking. You know, in terms of graphical fidelity, not anything to write home about. And it didn't look scary at all.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest part, too.
Yeah. Like, in terms of, you know, crafting an atmosphere in which, you know, people can be, you know, affected, I think they need some work.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't have very high expectations for that game.
Yeah. Real quick, Telltale's new projects. They're making a Game of Thrones game,
yeah,
and
man,
a Borderlands
and a Borderlands
game.
one.
I'm not sure, like, because they've teased both of them, and that they're definitely working on them, but they're still working on Walking Dead Season 2. They're still working on The Wolf Among Us. I don't know that they're in a position to actively be making the Borderlands game and the Game of Thrones game. They've shown a little bit from the Borderlands
the thing
one.
is, the engine's in place.
Yeah.
And that's the most time-consuming part of development.
They've been expanding like crazy, which, you know, lends credence to maybe they can work on 3-4 games at a time. That just seems like a lot to me, personally.
Yeah, but, you know, you think about it, they only have to do an episode at a time. They're not crafting a whole game.
Yeah.
You know, it's essentially you draw up a storyboard, and then you just have to animate and create the areas, find out where to split the episodes. You just have to focus on that one episode at a time.
Yeah, but on the other
tough.
side of that, though, they do have to have the overarching storyline for the whole thing first.
Right. You know, that's a matter of sitting down and coming up with just storyboarding. Storyboarding usually doesn't take that long.
Well,
and it's not particularly expensive because there's
No, I'm just talking about in terms of the resources that they have. I don't know that they're in a position to be working on 4 games at a time. I mean, you're right; they are smaller scale than a lot of these larger studios that have multiple teams. But I don't know. If they were to say like, hey, Borderlands the Borderlands Telltale game is coming out in the fall, Game of Thrones is going to start next summer, they would potentially have 4 games going on at once.
Well, no. Because Wolf Among Us and Walking Dead Season 2, they just came out with Episode 3 for each of those. And so they try to do one a month, one every month and a half. Yeah,
but they usually don't make it. It's usually one every 2 months.
Yeah, so let's say it's one every... Let's split the difference. One every month and a half. So by the end of summer, early fall, both of those will be done. And then they can come in with one of their 2 new ones. And then bring in the second of the 2 new ones, maybe Q1 of next year or something.
That would make sense.
Yeah, considering they're already over halfway done with the 2 that are currently going, I think coming out and giving some more details on those is not on the new ones is not out of the question.
Yeah.
'Cause I think it's totally within their capabilities to run two at the same time. I mean, they're doing it now, and I don't think they're going to have much of an overlap. I don't think so.
So I guess, I mean, I personally, I would love to see stuff from both of those games. I don't really think we will. You think we will?
Probably not, honestly. Probably not.
Of the two, I would say probably the Borderlands game, just because Borderlands has been in the news now with the pre-sequel, talking about Borderlands 3 coming out, next-gen stuff. That would make more sense to me, and they've already shown stills of the game. We haven't seen anything except the title for the Game of Thrones, and that I imagine has to be a more intensive process because they got to meet with George R. R. Martin, the people from the TV show, and come up with a story that makes sense in that universe. I don't think that they've even started making that game yet. I think they still have to be in that pre-production phase.
Yeah, it's. I'm sure there's more intensive licensing issues with that.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have any games specifically?
I hope we'll see Final Fantasy 15.
Okay, I hadn't even thought about that one.
More finite details on it because they released the gameplay stuff, but a lot of it was unexplained. They didn't really elaborate on how a lot of the systems are going to work. So I really want to see some more finite details regarding that.
Yeah, I could totally see more of that at the Sony press conference, like how they revealed it last year at the Sony press conference. That would be great, and like a release date would be really, really nice. I mean, it's probably, I'm sure that's a 2015 game. Maybe even 2016, honestly. But at least if they show like Final Fantasy 15, 2015, that would make sense. And then they can just push it back because they would.
Of course, why not, right?
Also from Square Enix, one of my most anticipated games, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, yes, I forgot. How could I forget?
Yeah,
I'm disappointed in myself.
I don't know if that's any position to show anything more extended.
I hope so.
Because they showed that like little bit of gameplay
with like the roller coaster themed summons.
Yes, kind of. But that could have been anything. Like that could have been they built that specifically for that trailer. Yeah. That could have been totally out of context. So I'm not sure that we'll see anything more about that. That's got to be a 2016 game
I'm
at
sure.
least. But I'd love to see more of that for sure. Lords of the Fallen. The Lord of the Rings game?
Wait.
I'm wrong. That's Shadows of Mordor.
Shadows of Mordor is Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so Shadows of Mordor then. The Lord of the Rings game.
We've seen a lot of developer diary stuff coming out, so I don't think they're going to make a presence at E3.
And they've already had a gameplay demo out, like a pretty extensive, like 15-minute one. Yeah. It looks great. And
it does.
Troy Baker is voicing the main guy because Troy Baker voices every single fucking video game character now.
Yep.
Not to take anything away from him, like he's a fantastically talented voice actor, but come on, there's so many other people out there. Yeah. Nolan North is in it too, which makes me happy because I love me some Nolan North. Yeah. I'm not sure who he's voicing though, but he's in it in some capacity. But the game looks great, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So I'm excited to see more stuff in that universe. The game looks good. It's not blowing me away yet. It seems a little bit Assassin's Creed in terms of the actual gameplay and combat, which kind of turns me off, honestly, because Assassin's Creed combat is not the strongest part of that series.
No.
But I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. They seem to really love the universe and are taking their time and staying true to the canon and creating a cool story and a cool character. So I have high hopes for that game.
Oh, me too.
So then off of that, Lords of the Fallen, which seems to be Demons or Dark Souls-esque in terms of its combat. Not as hardcore as Dark Souls, but that same kind of patient combo, or not even combo based, but like patient third-person sword fighting. What is that gameplay mechanic called? I don't even know.
I mean, it's third-person action,
sure.
But yeah,
but
I know what
deliberate.
You mean. Yeah, very deliberate. You know, there's animation, prioritized animations. Usually, no animation canceling.
Right.
Usually, if you swing your sword, you are swinging your sword all the way. There's no stopping it halfway through. Stuff like that. Probably very few, if any, invincibility frames. That kind of a deal where you have to be very It's every enemy has a very specific way you should fight them to exploit their weaknesses, and you will need to do so in order to succeed in the game. It has that kind of a feel to it.
Yeah.
It's not just a third-person hack and slash. It's not a combo builder. It's very tactical gameplay.
But I will say about Lords of the Fallen, though, not just because of its title, but it looks pretty generic to me.
Yeah,
like the gameplay seems solid, but like the character and the story of it, the enemies feel like a generic dark fantasy game.
I agree.
There's just nothing about it like is wowing me. It's a game, I have my eye on it, of course, but like nothing about it is making me like anticipating it. And a game like that, I feel like is gonna get thrown on, like not thrown under the rug. I don't know like the right metaphor for it, but it's not gonna stand out at a big conference like E3.
No.
So I don't know that they show anything about that unless they have something new, something cool to make it stand apart. Because otherwise, it's just gonna get put in the background behind these other games that people have been waiting for.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Dying Light.
Man, that freaking delays have been the bane of my existence over the last month or so.
Yeah.
I think if we weren't going to see Dying Light at E3 before, we definitely will be now.
Just because of the delay?
Because of the delay. Because, man, it looked finished.
Yeah.
It looked finished.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like they have to give us something this year. If they don't, I'll be disappointed. I'll be very disappointed if they don't give us something, something to show us that the delay is going to be worth it.
Yep. I'm certainly excited for it, but that's it's one of those games where because we in general know so little about it, about like what the actual game is.
Yeah.
That if they need more time to make it a better game, fine. I'm cool with waiting until 2015 to play that.
Yeah, and I agree. I want to know why.
Yeah, but a lot of that you're never gonna. Like
I mean, sure.
Studios just don't typically do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to see some sort of progression that's telling me this wait is, it has a purpose.
Yeah, of course, that it was worth it.
Right, it's not just like for numbers or something. No, it's not for like some quarterly bullshit.
Right.
I want to see something to reaffirm my faith in that game.
So, one more game real quick. Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain.
Yes.
I think we will see more of that, especially after people being underwhelmed and a lot of them pissed off with Ground Zeroes because of how friggin' short it was. Like $40 for like what essentially amounted to like an hour and a half of gameplay.
Yeah, the price was way too high, but the game was intended to be played multiple times. They said that. Said that.
I guess, but even when you played it multiple times, it wasn't that much of a difference.
Right.
So you can come up and say like, "Oh, we're making this game so that it has replay value," and that's fine. But if it doesn't really have replay value, that's still sleazy.
Oh no, it does have replay value. Absolutely. I mean, you can go in guns blazing. You can take a super stealth approach.
But I mean, like the core of what happens doesn't change really, right? I mean, I haven't played it. I'm just going off of what other people have said about it.
No, the mission is you have to get these two. I think it's two different people.
Yeah,
out.
And you can do it any way you want.
You can do it any way you want. I mean, it ends with you getting them out some way. But the way you can accomplish that is, there's a crazy amount of combinations of things you can do. I saw a video once where this guy he was playing a snake, obviously, and he lured a guard into the middle of the road because he had played it enough times and he knew that that's when this truck driver brings a truck around and it's at night. And so the truck driver, it's at night, and he couldn't see the dude. He hit the dude with the Jeep, and then like got out to check on him, and then he used that as a diversion to get into the base.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like the whole insecurity that created.
And if that's what Phantom Pain is going to be, that kind of gameplay, great.
Yeah.
My point is just like, if you're releasing this as like a gameplay test or like a teaser for it, give people more to do for $40.
Well, for $40 it should have been 30
like
at most.
$20. Well, because I think it was 40 on new consoles, 30 on old consoles.
Okay, so it should have been a 30-20.
Yeah.
If that.
So, I mean, do you expect to see more Phantom Pain there?
Yeah, I think so. I think the game is.
gameplay.
Yeah, I think the game's at an advanced enough stage that we'll be able to see something from them, and they'll give us, maybe a new location or a new villain, like a face for the new villain or something.
New scantily clad lady.
Maybe.
Because they all are. They're all like slutty Asian chicks.
Japanese, man.
What about anything from Rockstar? So they've had GTA 5 last year.
Yeah.
And now no announced plans for a PC version, no announced plans for next-gen console versions, no announced plans for their next game. They typically take years to make a game.
Yeah.
They have said in their earnings call that they do at the end of every quarter, these companies do, Rockstar said, we're excited to show people what Rockstar has planned in 2014. So people are like, oh, they're announcing GTA 6. And I'm like, whoa, you guys are fucking morons. They just released GTA 5 less than a year ago. They're not going to come out with a brand new game in a year. And people are like, oh, well, it's a new Red Dead game. Like, no, they take way longer to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What that is a PS4, Xbox One, PC version of Grand Theft Auto 5.
I'm sure.
Now, does that justify an announcement at E3?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So I think we see nothing from Rockstar.
Yeah.
Next year, I think that they will have a teaser for a non-GTA game. If it's a new Red Dead game, if it's sequel to Bully, whatever the hell. But next year they'll have a teaser. I don't think we see another Rockstar game until 2017.
I agree. As much as it sucks.
Well, I don't really care for their games in general, but I know as big as they are, a lot of people won't be happy with that. But that's just kind of how I see it, based upon their development cycle. As big as they are, as much money as they make, they can take as much fucking time as they want to make a game because they're always solid. Like, I can't take that away from them. They're well-crafted games. They just don't particularly appeal to me.
Sure.
Wrapping up here, Witcher 3.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see an extended gameplay demo from it. I wouldn't be surprised to see it at a Microsoft conference, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure
they
it would
tend to typically go along with them, although this is coming to PS4 as well, and PC, obviously.
Right.
That game looks great. Having never played either of the other games, I don't really have any interest in it because it's all out of context for me. You played Witcher 2, right?
I played about 12 hours of Witcher 2, which is to say I played maybe a couple % of the game.
Yeah, exactly. So people that like that series, I'm sure, are chomping at the bit for it, and it looks gorgeous. But I think it's probably a safe bet to say there'll be a gameplay demo, and I would place it at the Microsoft conference.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I'm trying to... There's one game I'm saving for last. The Star Wars Visceral game. That... The fact that they just brought on Amy Hennig like 2 months ago leads me to believe that they're still in the pre-production phase. I don't think that they have anything to show.
I don't think so either.
I think that's, next year we get a teaser, and then it is announced for fall 2016 and gets pushed back into 2017. That's how I kind of see that going.
Yep.
But whatever that game is, I'm excited for it.
Me too.
We know nothing about it. It could be some
I'll
kind
play
of...
it.
The rumor has been that it's been kind of a spiritual, not successor, but kind of taking on what Star Wars 1313 was.
Sure.
Like a Uncharted kind of game, which would make sense with them bringing on Amy Hennig.
Yeah.
But based upon Visceral's pedigree, if it's more of like a horror style game, or if you're like some other
That
kind of
could be
bounty hunter,
pretty cool.
that'd be really cool too. In the Star Wars universe, that's nothing you've never really seen anything like that before, so that would be really neat. Whatever it is, I mean, I can't say that it's going to be a great game, but I'm excited for it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I've covered everything else before we talk about the final game, which is the biggest one. I guess that's it. You don't have anything else?
I do, but I don't know if we're thinking about the same game.
I'm sure we are. Let's say it. Let's say it on the count of 3.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Fallout 4.
Yes. So this is the game that everyone is asking about. If they're not talking about Half-Life 3, they're talking about Halo 4. And for the record,
Fallout
Half-Life
4.
3 will not be revealed at E3. Why would they? Like, PC games are not at E3. Valve, their whole Steambox thing, whatever it is, if they announce Half-Life 3, which has been rumored now, I mean, obviously for years, but there's been real rumors of that it's in development, kind of concrete evidence that it's in development. I'm sure it is real, and I'm sure it will be revealed in the not-too-distant future, but not at E3. There's no place for that.
No, not really.
But yeah, so Halo 4.
Halo 4?
Sorry. Fallout 4. We've been talking about video games for like 3 hours. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's all blending together now.
So Fallout 4. Is it going to happen?
Yes. It will happen.
You think they're gonna tease it? You think they're going to show something significant?
Yes.
You can't be both. Fallout 4. Fallout 4.
Well, do you think they're going to have it or don't? Yeah.
Fallout 4.
Just someone say Fallout 4? Who's there?
I think they do announce it. And upsettingly,
I think so too.
I think it happens at the Microsoft conference.
I agree.
I think it would be smarter for them to announce it at the Sony conference
I
because
agree.
of how shitty Skyrim was on PS3. For them to
Yeah.
come out and be like, hey, we're focusing on the PS4 version of this, in addition to Xbox One, of course, like not favoring one over another.
Right.
But Skyrim was very clearly made, obviously, for PC first, and then ported to Xbox, and then almost as an afterthought for PS3.
Yeah. They need to regain the trust of the Sony.
I love Skyrim.
Oh, my God. Love it.
My favorite game of all time changes every day, but a good portion of the time, my favorite game of all time is Skyrim. That's how much I love that game. As shitty as it was on the PS3 version, I put in over 300 hours into that game. Easily, yeah. I had like 4 different characters, all this kind of stuff. So I love Bethesda games. You know, I liked Fallout 3. I never finished it just because that game was always way too long. I always ended up burning out on it. And it obviously wasn't specifically Bethesda, but Fallout New Vegas, same story. I really liked it, but never got super into it. But Fallout 4, I would be very, very excited about them teasing that. And that I see as a fall 2015 game. Assuming, because you have to assume it's been in development now for a couple of years. Assuming that it's on track, that sounds like a fall 2015 game to me.
Sure.
But yeah, realistically, I'd expect it to be just a short little teaser of some kind of like husky narrator type, post-apocalyptic setting, whatever city it's going to be in.
War never changes.
Well, yeah, not that. Oh, that would be like people would fucking explode if it started out like that. If it was a black screen, it just started out Ron Perlman, war never changes. Like people would be like, like guys would be masturbating in the corner. They'd be like exploding. Yeah. That would be a great thing. The more realistic thing that they would do is try to hide that it's Fallout 4 until
the end.
Tag.
Yeah.
But if it's a post-apocalyptic thing, like if it's some kind of, people are just going to assume it's Fallout 4, honestly. So realistically, I think we'll see it at the Microsoft conference. I would rather see it at the Sony conference. As a primarily Sony gamer, I'd feel safer buying the PS4 version if they were upfront with their partnership with Sony on this game, that we're going to make this as good as the Xbox version.
Right.
So that's just kind of how I feel about it. Obviously, ideal world, I'd love to play it on PC, but playing Skyrim on PC has been awesome. I do like my Let's Play with mods and stuff like that, and it's great, but it's not the same quality just because my PC is not as powerful as a lot of people's. So
Sure.
I'm kind of would have to play it on PS4 for that version. And then once mods start picking up, totally I'm going to get it on PC because mods make those games so much better than they already were.
Yeah.
But
They
that's
expand the experience exponentially. It's crazy.
That's kind of all that I have. So I guess to kind of recap third-party stuff that we absolutely think is going to be there, what do you think?
I'm going back through my list here.
I know, me too.
Oh God, Final Fantasy 15.
Okay,
I think
that's a
will
safe
for
bet.
sure be there. The Crew and the Division, I think will for sure be there.
Okay. I would say Destiny is probably a
yeah.
safe bet, especially because
yeah,
that game's
for sure.
coming out in a couple months.
Yeah.
It'd be there in some kind of capacity. Evolve. Did we even talk about Evolve?
Oh no, we didn't.
Yeah. Well, we already. Man,
I always forget about it because I'm not interested.
Yeah, I wanted to say Fallout 4 for last. Dang it, because that's like the biggest thing. But yeah, Evolve.
Right.
I think it was it a GDC or DICE or whatever the conference was that they announced it.
Yeah.
It's like a co-op kind of game where like. It's
Asymmetric
kind of that
multiplayer.
asymmetrical gameplay where one person plays as the big monster and then their friends play as the team hunting the monster, and you
Yeah.
kind of trade off and blah blah blah. It's a cool idea. I can't say I'm like particularly impressed by it, but because they've been trying to gain traction, I wouldn't be surprised to see that like at Sony's press conference, see some more gameplay of that just for people that haven't heard about it yet.
Right.
I think that's probably a safe one.
Yeah, or just to remind people that it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we absolutely could see Lords of the Fallen and/or Shadows of Mordor there.
Yeah.
Just because of those are both relatively not that they're not AAA, but they fit more into that mid-tier that doesn't really exist anymore in games, like that THQ kind of game.
Yeah.
Like a Darksiders type of game. They
Right.
kind of fit into that world because it's a new IP. Kind of smaller, more unproven studios, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them trying to push that. And then really beyond that, it's kind of wish list stuff of my most anticipated games, like Battlefront 3, Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts 3, any other kind of Star Wars games, whether it's BioWare, Visceral, Fallout 4. Those are kind of my biggest ones that I would love to see that I don't really expect to.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I don't really expect to see those either, but
Yeah.
I would be one of the happiest people in the world if they did.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Thanks, guys, for watching. This was a long one, but we talked about a ton of games. Let me know in
yeah.
the comments any games you think we missed that are surefire bets to be at E3, or just any other games that are on your wish list. There are a bunch of games that have been rumored that we didn't really talk about just because we don't have a ton of interest in them. But obviously we don't represent everybody. So let me know what you guys agree with, what you don't agree with. And then if you're watching this after E3, be sure to let us know how big of morons we were and how wrong we were. Because hindsight is 20/20, as they say. So
Oh, yeah.
thanks, guys, for watching. DK, thanks for joining me for 3+ hours of video game talk.
Totally. Anytime.
Yeah, man. I wish I could talk about video games for a living and
Yep.
wear my voice out on a daily basis.
It would be great.
So yeah, let us know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys post E3. We might do something like this, talking about the stuff that was revealed and talked about, and just kind of give our impressions.
Yeah, man.
Cool. All right, see you guys in the next one.
See ya.
Peace.